How many people saw what I put on Facebook this morning? Okay, good. Look at that. I'm getting more hands. The more I ask, the more it happens. So I'm going to keep asking. All right, good. Let's go to Matthew chapter 18. This is something I've often thought about. And felt led to talk about it this morning. Matthew chapter 18. We're going to be in verse 1. At the same time, the disciples came to Jesus saying, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Okay. I get it. I get it, but this is a question I personally would not have asked. And who's the greatest in heaven? Oh, God is. That's the first thing that would have popped into mind. But other than God, who's the greatest in heaven? That's obviously what they meant here. Then Jesus called a little child to him and set him in the midst of them. And said, "Assuredly I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one little child like this in my name receives me. So, whoever humbles himself." So let's talk about this. Let's talk about it as this little child. Unless you become as this little child. And I'm thinking about this. What does this mean? I mean, I'm looking at all kinds of aspects, but just because I'm ignorant enough to like, okay, you ain't very educated. Does that mean I'm not supposed to be educated? A child can't do a lot of things for themselves. Does that mean I'm not supposed to learn things? Obviously not. Obviously not. But that's where my mind went. And I get to thinking about this. So, unless I become as a little child, so how is a little child? A little child depends on someone else. His parents, his uncle, aunts, whatever and whomever. This little child depends on the help of someone else for that to sustain its life, to sustain its lifestyle. And so that being said, dependent. All right, so let's look at this dependency. Okay? It reminds me back in my high school days, I don't know, 15, when my mouth and when I would say things before thinking, it obviously felt like I knew it all. Teenagers, and out of all people, it was my father, who didn't put up with stuff like that, but yet, I guess because I was brave enough to do it, I argued back. I don't even remember what the topic was. I really don't even remember what the topic was, and I think about it. I don't know, something about being at the house, just being there at the house, something my And so I started arguing back, and I felt entitled that he owed me whatever I wanted. And I wasn't. I'm living in his house. The clothes that I was wearing, he bought. The food I ate, he bought it. And I'm arguing that I'm entitled to whatever the situation. I don't remember. I really don't. I tell you what I remember is I was wrong. And I didn't get whatever it was I was fighting for. I remember that. So you've got he that becomes as this little child. Do you not enter into the kingdom of heaven? So let's look at that spiritually. Jesus called the little child. He sat it down in the midst of everyone. I'd love to know the age of that child. I'd love to know. Well, I just wish I was there. Because Jesus was saying, look at this little child. What is it about little children?
Innocence.
Innocence is one, yes. I remember, wow, this must be of my earliest memories. Came out of nowhere. I remember back when my mother and father were still married, she was in the kitchen. I wasn't even tall enough. I remember this, that I wasn't even tall enough to see over, or maybe just barely about the height of the oven. And she was cooking, and I was going to reach up and touch it, and she said, don't touch it, it's hot. And guess what? I touched it anyway, and all it was hot, just sure in fact it was exactly what she said it was. Guess what? She told me something else. I listened after that, because clearly she knows more than I know, and it's for my better benefit that I listen. But as I got older, that listening stopped. That listening, I got to find things out. You don't know what you're talking about. I got to find it. I know, and of course I messed it up. And my dad, mom, whoever had to come to my situation when I didn't listen in the first place. But I remember this. I distinctly remember this. So how is it a little child? Don't touch it, it's hot. Oh. Now I'm okay, obviously, but had I listened, I'd have never got burned in the first place. Had I listened to the guidance, had I learned the lesson, had I been open to receive the guidance. Now, let's look at Luke. Let's go to the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. Now, this actually, I don't know that I've ever preached this before, or at least not to you. But this is the parable of the lost son. And it's not the fact so much that he felt entitled, he asked for what was his, and he went out and squandered it all. That's not the point that I want to get from this. But let's go to verse 15. Verse 15. Then he went and journeyed himself. Then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country. And he sent him into the fields of the swine. And he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pod that the swine ate. And no one gave him anything. No one gave him anything. So when he thought that he had it all figured out, that he wanted to do what he wanted to do to make him happy in the moment, can you imagine when he was out there partying and drinking and girls and all of this and had a pocket full of money? You know, he was the man. Until it was all gone. Then nobody was giving nothing. He was starving to death. Now here's the thing about this. He's Jewish. Swine is unclean. They don't eat pork. And here he is, not only is he tending to that very animal that he considers unclean, and that was unclean to them, but he was eating their food just to sustain himself, just to sustain life, eating their slop. Now, he got that from living the way he wanted, doing what he wanted, what made him happy, and the outcome of what he thought that he needed and wanted to live, and all this other mess. And here he is taking care of the very thing that he finds is unclean, and he's eating their food because nobody else would help him do anything. That's the trouble that with not listening to God, not following after God, and we find ourselves and get ourselves in those kind of messes. And this is the part I want to talk about. Right here is what I want to talk about, his change of attitude. Remember, Jesus said, unless you become a little child and you humble yourself. When you humble yourself, you're not the way I was when I was a teenager and felt entitled. That's not humble. In verse 17. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare? And I perish with hunger? I'm starving to death, and my father's servants have more. They got extra. And I'm starving to death. I will arise and go to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Let's hold it there for a second. See, this is more than him getting himself. This is him actually embarrassing the Father. You know, everybody in town knew what was going on. And he's like, for him to come back and apologize is a major, major thing. And you know, and not only embarrassing it, but it is something that he must do, or he's going to die. He's going to die of hunger. I don't care how embarrassing it is and how low that I must be. But this is what needs to happen, and this is what I must do. And that's exactly what he does. And he returns back, and he goes to his father. In verse 20. And he arose, came to his father, but when he was still great afar off, his father saw him, had compassion, and ran. Okay, there's another thing. Ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. Now, find that an issue? Because back in that time, men, and for him to run, he would have to pick his, I don't know what you call it, his outfit, his dress, if you want to call it that, for a better skirt. Huh? Tunic. But he'd have to pick it up and ran, and it was considered, if you want to say lower class, men wasn't supposed to show their legs. Wasn't supposed to run. But not only that, but this man, he was running. My son is coming. He didn't care what anybody saw or thought. My son is coming. And he did exactly that way. And he ran, he grabbed him, he kissed him. You know this man stunk. And he ran and he kissed him and go get the fatted calf. And let's put some clothes on him. Let's get him cleaned up. Put a ring on his finger. He's back. Now, you know the story. Let's go down to verse 25. So two sons in particular. One has come back after acting a fool, spending his entire inheritance and all that he had, just living the lifestyle. And then when it all came down and he realized he messed up, he come back home. Now his older son was in the field. And as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing, celebrating. So he called one of the servants and asked what this meant. He said to him, "Your brother has come, and because he has received him safe and sound, your father has killed the fatted calf." And look here, it said, "But he was angry and would not go in." Now he eventually, we're not going to go there, I'm just going to paraphrase it to you. He went and approached his father. "Will you do it all this for him after he acted the way he acted and everything? And I've been here the whole time. There's your entitlement. I'm the good one. I'm the one. I didn't do anything. Me, myself, how I acted, what I didn't do, and what I did do, and all this. Entitlement." And the first thing, I hope the father said, because it doesn't, well, yeah, he pretty much did. "It ain't about you. It's about your brother, my son, who has come back to me." And with the right attitude. He's come back and he's humbled himself. Who do you think, don't answer, but who do you think that father in this story was more happy with? This entitled who stayed there because he felt, well, out of entitlement, that's my father, I'll go ahead and stay, and I'm going to do all of this and everything, and out of obligation, he was there because of obligation. And obligation, I get it, and that's a good thing, that he's there if his father would have needed him, but yet feeling entitlement, no humility. Don't you think he'd have been happy for his brother? Especially knowing what he went through. Now, did he bring it on himself? Yes, he brought it on himself. But however, now he's back. And that's all the father sees, is that he's back. You know how many times that I went off left field? That I went off to do what I wanted and made a mess out of things? What did God say? He said, "Ask me to forgive you, and I will, and I won't remember it again." His son's back. came back. He humbled himself. And in doing so, he learned a lesson out of it. You know, it really doesn't talk anymore. I was talking to Pearl, it doesn't talk anymore about it, but I'd be willing to bet that never happened again. Not for that one. I am never going out, leaving my father. I'm going to stay where I know that I need to be. I know where I'm taken care of. You know, with the expression, grass ain't always greener on the other side, he found that out, didn't he? But here's the important part. He came back. He came back to his father. He came back to where he needed to be. We all strayed. Romans 3:23. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Every one of us, at some point, has acted wrong, acted ugly, done wrong, said this and drank that and partied, whatever it is. We've all messed it up. And it's not an excuse because we're not where we're supposed to be. And eventually, we will reap the consequences of the sin if we do not turn back to where we need to go. And God said, if you will confess your sins, I'm faithful and just to forgive you and to cleanse you from all unrighteousness. The Bible even talks about being cast into the depths of the sea, never to be remembered again. Never. I've done some things. Man, I've done things that I'm not proud of. I've done things that I really wish I forgot I ever did. But, Lord Jesus, forgive me. And he forgave me. And though I have, and I've done, and I've acted that way, it'll never be held against me. I am a new creation, born again into the family of God. And what did he say? Humble. That's why Peter wrote. He wrote, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, and he will exalt you in due time. In due time. He tells us there's a reason. And it goes back to Jesus and the little girl. Unless you act and humble yourself to this little child. Why? Because she depends on someone else. And that's what God wants us depending on him. And for me not depending on him, meaning it's saying that I think I can do it better than you can, and so I'll watch me. Watch me go. I was just thinking, my wife can attest that I don't always know the right thing to do. I stumble, I fall, I mess up. But just as his son, he came back to his senses and he said, look what I've done. And he goes back, Father, I'm sorry, forgive me, just make me according to your purpose. And that's the kind of father that we have. That as we do stumble, as we do fall, and we mess up, we have a God that would come running, ask me to come to me, ask me to forgive you, and I will. because I know what I've done. I know how I acted. And I know what I said, but yet here I stand, forgiven, clean, washed, made whole because of what Jesus did. Romans tells us that sin leads unto death, and that there is a punishment, there is a penalty to pay for sin. And I know what I've done, and I know what I owe, but I also know is what He did. That He came to this world and He died that I don't have to for what I've done, not what He's done. Because He loves us that much. And because He does love us that much, He says, come to me, and I'll forgive everything you've ever done. Everything. I just need you to walk with me. Come to